And the first concept we want to talk about is a concept that is known as imputation. And what I've done here for the sake of brevity is I've tried to reduce as effectively as possible some of the prevailing concepts about sin. What we're going to do is like I said, I'm trying to give an accurate representation, eliminating as much detail as possible. And here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you a list of terms. The first term is original sin. This phrase will often be associated with the idea of imputation. And now again, there are slight variations in the way people represent imputation, but this would be one of the phrases that would be associated with imputation. Original sin. Another phrase that you will see associated with the concept of imputation will be the federal headship theory. Okay, the federal headship theory. Another phrase that is often used, and if you use an NIV, this phrase pops up quite a bit, is the phrase sinful nature. And generally speaking, theologically or doctrinally, the phrase is associated with the concept of inability, or another phrase, total depravity. Okay? Now, these are some of the phrases, some of the concepts, some of the ideas, some of the terminology that you will hear when discussing the theory of or the concept of imputation. All right? Now let's give some explanation. Here's the first idea that surfaces, and this one would particularly be descriptive of the federal headship theory. And it would be this, number 2 on your list. Every individual's guilt, okay, your guilt, my guilt, is solely based upon the fact that Adam, as our representative, sinned. Okay? So, what this basically says is that God had arranged, when He created the universe, when He created this world, and when He put you and I as moral beings, when He put human beings on the face of this planet, He created 2 original human beings, Adam and Eve. Okay? That's biblical. We understand that that's true. Then the idea is that part of the arrangement is this, that whatever Adam chooses to do as the federal head of the race, in other words, Adam is the representative of the entire human race. Every human being that is born from his point on, he represents. So whatever he does will be applied to them. Okay? He is the representative, the federal head is the phrase that is used. So when Adam sinned against God, he became guilty. But since he was the federal head, since he was the representative of the human race, when Adam sinned, every human being born thereafter was born in a state of guilt before God. Their condemnation was secured at the moment of Adam's sin. That's the essence of the federal headship theory. He was the federal representative. It was simply an arrangement God made that whatever you do will be imputed to the rest of the race. Now, one sense of the imputation concept and the federal headship theory is that it is simply a technicality. It is a legal transaction. You and I did not necessarily sin, but Adam's sin, as our representative, is being legally applied to us, imputed to us. Okay? That's one way of representing the idea. The other way of representing it, a slight twist on the idea, is what the next statement clarifies. The other way of representing it is every individual that has ever existed since Adam literally sinned. It wasn't that his sin was just applied, but you and I literally committed sin along with Adam because we were literally present in the form of his seed. You understand, Adam as the first man has the seed of the human race in him. And so when he sinned, you and I, according to this theory, were present in the form of his seed, and it wasn't as though his sin was just applied to us. We were there in him and sinned in him. Okay? Now, these are standing, operating, influential theories regarding the concept of why people sin and where our guilt comes from. Okay? Number 4 then says this, that every individual is born in a state of sin and guilt, regardless of and prior to any moral choices we ever make. So sin and guilt are not literally associated with our choices or our moral conduct. Sin is a pre-existing condition that you have at birth, and your guilt is a pre-existing condition that you are born with as a newborn child. The question would be asked, do we sin because we're sinners, or are we sinners because we sin? According to this theory, we sin because we're already sinners. We were born as sinners, and the only thing that we naturally know how to do is sin. So consequently, my sin and my guilt precede anything about the character that I develop or the choices I make. Number 5 would then say this: man is unable from birth to respond to God's requirements because he was either born spiritually dead, denoting inability, meaning that at the time Adam sinned, mankind lost a part of his personality which he needed to be able to obey God. Or the other option would be that he was controlled by something now deposited in his personality which caused him to do nothing but sin. And this thing that was deposited in our personality because of Adam's choice to sin is generally referred to as a sinful nature. Now, do you see the distinction that's being developed here? You have two options. You can either say, when Adam sinned, there was something that the human race lost. And due to the fact that we lost this portion of our capacity, we do not have the ability to obey God or to choose to do what's good. That's one option. The other option is not that we lost something. The other option is that we gained something that causes us to do nothing but choose sin. That's sort of the most prevailing school of thought that has captured the mind of Christianity.